Доброго вечора, шановні колеги. Дякую, що приєдналися сьогодні до нас. Тема нашого вебінару сьогодні практична. Мова піде про активності, за допомогою яких можна практикувати говоріння у класі англійської мови, і які не потребують багато підготовки. Англійською мова звучить так. 7 material-light activities to practice speaking. Спочатку ми перевіримо зв'язочок. Так? Там щось відбулося, Оксана? І для цього, будь ласка, дайте відповідь на таке запитання. Чи проводите ви ігри на уроках англійської мови? Поставте, будь ласка, плюсик у чаті. Так. Бачу відповіді, тобто мене добре видно і добре чути, так? Так, це дуже добре. Мене звати Анастасія. Тут ви бачите деяку інформацію про мене. Я працюю близько 10 років на мережі International House. Все інше тут можна прочитати. Проєкт на урок – це освітній журнал, бібліотека розробок, онлайн-тести, вебінари, олімпіади та конкурси. Думаю, можна знайти багато корисного для кожного, тому приєднуйтесь якомога частіше. І працюватимемо ми сьогодні за таким планом. Спочатку поговоримо про необхідність практикувати говоріння в класі якомога частіше, а потім перейдемо до практичної частини. І поговоримо конкретно про ті активності, які можна для цього застосувати, і як їх найкраще можна адаптувати до різних рівнів і різних цілей. І розпочну я з того, що працюю я у комунікативній методиці. Сучасні дослідники переконані, що у класі треба практикувати саме те, що ти робитимеш мовою, яку ти вивчаєш. Якщо не говоритимеш, а це ж очевидно, то от треба і говорити в класі. Адже є люди, які чудово читають, можуть перекласти що завгодно, чудово можуть щось зрозуміти. А от коли доходить до говоріння, вони розгублюються і почуваються невпевнено. Тому основним принципом цієї методики є практика мови через реальне спілкування. Тобто будь-який лексичний і граматичний матеріал після його опрацювання треба відпрактикувати через реальну мовну ситуацію. У класі такі ситуації, звичайно, пропонує вчитель. От, скажімо, вивчили past simple. Розібралися, як це працює. Зробили 1,000,001 вправочку. Аж потім детально розпитали сусіда про те, як, скажімо, пройшли його минулі вихідні. І це і є той самий метод PPP, or 3 P's of a Grammar Lesson, який ви бачите зараз на слайді. Цей слайд читаємо знизу і догори. Починаємо з presentation. Це саме той стейдж, на якому роз'яснюється якесь правило, так? До presentation також є різні підходи. Є так званий deductive approach, коли вчитель дає правило учням. А є inductive approach, коли учні самостійно виводять правило за методом guided discovery. Після цього переходимо на етап practice. Practice – це така контрольована практика, коли учні не мають, скажімо, багато вибору. Це ті самі get feel, when we match sentence halves, скажімо, substitution drill. Такі вправи. Туди ж можна і переклад додати, тобто такі контрольовані активності. І потім вже ми переходимо на етап production. Це є те вільне спілкування, яке так необхідно для того, щоб цей граматичний або лексичний матеріал перейшов в фазу автоматичного використання, щоб не приходилося постійно задумуватися, яке слово мені потрібно, або яке дієслово мені зараз використати. І хочу звернути вашу увагу на розмір цих прямокутничків, що от presentation найменший прямокутничок, і production найбільший. Цей розмір умовно позначає кількість часу, яку необхідно витратити на цю частину впродовж уроку. Тобто, якщо урок умовно продовжується 1 годину, 15 хвилин умовно витрачаємо на презентацію, 20 хвилин на контрольовану практику і 25 на продакшн. Тобто продакшн має бути так найбільшим. І також ця методика комунікативна пропонує все спілкування в класі проводити мовою, що вивчається. Тут я маю на увазі і викладання матеріалу, пояснення, і інструкції до завдань, і якісь організаційні моменти, і моменти дисципліни. Все це потрібно вирішувати саме мовою, для нас це англійською мовою. Чому це необхідно? А тому, що в такій ситуації учень має можливість взяти участь у реальному спілкуванні з реальною комунікативною метою і вирішити реальне завдання. Тому практичну частину вебінару сьогодні я планую провести англійською мовою. І якщо буде необхідність, звичайно, можу щось продублювати або відповісти на якісь запитання, якщо серед нас присутні викладачі інших мов, або зовсім викладачі не іноземних мов, то буду готова дати відповіді на якісь запитання українською мовою. Тож, the first activity we'll be talking about today is called a snowball game. I suggest doing this as a whole class activity if the class isn't too big. If the class is bigger than 10-15 students, then probably it's a better idea to divide the class into several groups. But let's imagine it's a whole class activity first. So at first the teacher starts with a fact about herself. Let's say she can talk about her last weekend. Let's say I spent a lot of time with my family last weekend. Then she volunteers a student number 1, who should repeat the fact about the teacher and add his or her own fact about their last weekend. The student number 2 then already repeats 3 facts: the teacher, the student number 1, and his or her own fact. So, the student number 10 at this point understands that he is in trouble already. So I have a little question to you guys. In the middle you can see this little orange student. How many facts will this student have to talk about when their turn comes? How many facts? So I can see some answers. The orange guy, be careful. The orange guy. There's the teacher as well. Yeah, I can see 1 correct answer. Yeah, 2 correct answers. Good. So this orange guy will have to speak about 6 already. We'll have to give 6 facts. Remember, the teacher, his 4 classmates before him, and the last one about himself or herself. Now, at this time, as you understand, the student number 1, the gray one, is already relaxed. And he or she thinks that, okay, I can maybe browse my Instagram. But no, at this point, you can surprise them and return to them and say, now this student number one, the gray guy, has to repeat everything that has been said by now. And I would suggest doing the same thing twice when it comes to the student, to this black student, number 8. After him or her, I would suggest returning to the student number 3, the yellow guy, and ask them to repeat everything one more time, just so people are not as relaxed, you know. So, and when it comes to the end, the student number 10 has the hardest task, as you can imagine. I would recommend at the very end that the teacher repeats all the 10 facts about his or her students, because in that case they understand that you're interested in their life, that you want to learn about them as well. So it's a good idea to finish it all up like this. Now tell me please, why do you think this game is called a snowball game? What's the reason? Any ideas? Why is it a snowball game? Yeah, it's getting bigger. I can see some good ideas. So see, the information sort of piles up. Like when you're making a snowman, starting with more and more information. So starting with a tiny snowball, and then this information piles up to make a big one. So the number 10 gets the biggest snowball, so to say. Any questions about it? How to run this activity? Okay, if there are no questions about it, then I have a question. What level is this activity appropriate for? And what possible variations could there be? Yes, of course it will be popular with teenagers. Because personal information is popular with all sorts of audiences. Yeah, starting from the beginning, all levels, A2, I can see pre-intermediate. With this particular grammar, yes, probably pre-intermediate would be the best. But you could, as a teacher, you could instruct with all kinds of facts. You could give, B1 works. Yeah, pretty much all levels will be the right one, because you could give a fact with any sort of content. Any grammatical, lexical item could be practiced. Yes, could be practiced using this activity. In this case, any variations that you could think of, guys? You can, I'm sure. You can make this game more various. You could, as I said, you could change the grammatical, lexical content that you practice, or you could, training different tenses. Yeah. Oh, not for young learners. I practice it a lot with young learners. I mean, not if they're 7-year-old, of course, but with 10-year-olds, it works. Depends on the kind of fact that you give about yourself. and that will trigger the kinds of facts that the students give. 4th graders, 7th graders, yeah. All right, then we're going to move on to something I like very much. This is called a hot seat game. And on the slide, you can see the way the class will be organized. So basically, you need, making the sentences in the right way, yeah. Sure, you will do some correction. So anyway, here's the blackboard, like this one. And you need several groups. Depending on the size of your class, obviously, you will arrange several teams, 4 to 5 members in each team. And the idea is that students A have to sit with their back facing the board, just like I am sitting and I can't see what's on the board behind me. These students, the other members of each team, face the board, and they will see what is written. When this is done, the teacher will write a word on the board. This could be anything, something that you're practicing at the moment, a vocabulary item, or something to start off the lesson, I don't know, any generally known vocabulary for your students. So you put that word, and students B, C, and D, who are currently facing the board, will explain the word to the student A, who is sitting with their back to the board. The main condition here is that students B, C, and D have to use only language, words, phrases, sentences if they can, but no body language. No facial expressions, no pointing, okay? That's very important because here we practice speaking. And once A guesses, they just shout it out. And the A who guesses it first wins 1 point for that team. It's of course important to keep those points, keep track of those points on the board, because the students are very interested in that, and there's this competitive factor in this. So you keep track of the points. What's important? The A's should never look back to the board. And if they do, you take off 1 point. Now, once the A's have guessed a couple of words, maybe 2 or 3, then you change places, because everybody has to feel what it's like to be in the hot seat. So there must be some change, and then B's find themselves in the hot seat and now face their back to the board. Yeah, you could use pictures as well, not only written words if we speak about variations. Sure, if they can't read, for example, but know the words for very young learners, yeah. As for the level, you are already speaking about it. I can see that this is for 3rd or 4th graders, and there could be certain variations. So, any more ideas how to adapt it to different levels, or what variations could be suggested? Train vocabulary, synonyms, the second form even, why not? Crocodile game, if you mean using body language, then this game is quite the opposite. Here we do not use the body language, just what we can say, just the speech. Any sort of vocabulary, food could be practiced. I don't know, whatever you study, any vocabulary topic. A word combination, yeah, it could be a phrase for older students, yeah. For 11th graders, any topic, you're absolutely right. It's a good one to start a lesson off. It's very lively, there is a competitive unit in it. Okay. And then we're gonna, I suppose there are no questions about how this is organized. Because if there are, you're very welcome to ask anytime. And I will address. And if I see no questions, then I think, there, we'll move there to, is it big and can it fly? Yeah. But this one actually, A's do not ask any questions, in fact. They're not supposed to. Of course, if they can't guess at all, they could probably ask a couple of things. How much time do we need for doing this? It could be quite short. You could do 2 words per person and smaller groups in order to save time. Yeah, those who are afraid of speaking can play it. You're absolutely right. And then, so we're going to move on to back writing or air writing. Now, you might say, this isn't even speaking, but believe me, speaking develops gradually. For example, if a 12-year-old learner has never said a word in English, but of course they're very competent speakers of their first language, Ukrainian or Russian, and they speak those languages fluently. But when it comes to speaking English, they cannot utter a thing. And that's because speaking develops from tiny little sentences, and it's important to start with something small before you move on to larger sentences or discourses. So that's why I suggest this activity for ABC lessons for very young learners who are learning their letters. But it could be adapted, which we will talk about a bit later. So, how it works. The learners work in pairs. And imagine they're learning their alphabet. So, you ask each learner, learner A, say, to write a letter on their partner's back. It is very important that they write it big, like this. Not a tiny little one in the corner of their partner's back, because in that case, nobody will understand. But it must be big. You demonstrate, the teacher demonstrates the size, like this. But that's on their partner's back. Of course, you do not need a pen or anything, just your finger. Or if that's a big deal, then the back of a pen, anything. So, and then this partner B, on whose back it was written, makes a little sentence. This is T, this is B, or whatever it is. And then they swap. So they can write several letters like this. And imagine even a 7-year-old can make a simple sentence like this is ta-da. And it's already speaking, isn't it? It's already a great achievement if a 7-year-old can utter such a sentence in English. An alternative to it. Yeah, it's really cool for 7-year-olds. An alternative would be this, air writing. Like the same, but in the air. Again, it must be big. One student is writing, the other one is guessing, and then the other way around. On the board, not sure what you mean. The thing is, the important part is that we do not see it. We can either see the outline of the letter drawn by the finger, or we can sort of feel it on our back. Yeah, it's a good idea for A1 level, for beginners. So we talked about the level, good idea for starters. How about any variations? I've seen some ideas already that we could write full words. What's important for this idea is that you need to write the words letter by letter, and the student who is guessing has to name the letter by letter. So for example, B, and then O, and then one more O, and then K. And then the student who is guessing will be able to sort of read. Because if they write on the back just like this, it will be impossible. Yes, it's very good to practice spelling. You're right. For spelling practice, the student could write several words, and you could check and then write on the other student's back like this. And there could be variations, I mean, on how you check that the words have been spelled correctly. So this could require a bit more time or a bit more prep. You could give a list of words, if that's possible, to the students, which words you'd like them to write. But oh, I'm great that you're gonna use it. I'm very happy, I mean, that you're gonna use it. For 9th year study, why not? It is suitable. I use it with my adults too, with my adult groups, and they enjoy it a lot. For example, what I sometimes do, I ask them to write a word that is important to them today. For example, they had an argument today with somebody, and they could choose this word and write the word argument on another person's back. And when they guess the word, they can have a little conversation, if they are able already, you know, and ask about why this word is important. Yeah, it improves memory, indeed. You do need to remember the letters to read the word. So, any questions about it? If not, then we're going to move on to the activity number 4. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy that you're planning to use it. So, this one requires a bit more prep. However, I did that a couple times when we were out of electricity, and I just put this on the board, and that was the original plan. Oh, make the sentence with guessing words. Wow, that's a challenge. You could try. I've never done that. But anyway, know you better bingo. At first, what you need to do, this needs to be done beforehand, or in the meantime while the students are busy doing something, reading or writing or whatever. You could do some prep for this activity. So you draw this grid on the board, and thinking about your specific class, you fill in the grid with certain things, with certain sentences. So you put on the board, find someone who, and then in the boxes of the grid, you finish this, find someone who sentence. So I put here these ideas. Who has got a new bicycle? Who is tired? Who got a good mark yesterday? And whatever is relevant to your particular class. Now, my grid is cross grammar. You will see has got, verb to be, you will see past simple and can and present simple. It's up to you which grammar you include. It's up to you which grammar you practice with the help of this activity. Now, I use it for sort of a brief revision, just to liven it up. Or alternatively, any grammar item could be practiced in this way. So, what happens next? The students copy this into their copybook. That may require some time. Hopefully not too much. If you choose something short to write, because yeah, if there's a huge sentence like this, is getting ready for a competition is quite lengthy. So maybe you want to choose something shorter. Ideally, if there's a chance to make tiny copies for everybody, then of course this will work a little faster. If not, it's possible to do it without any copies. So, and the task is to move around, and using the grammar items you've got in the grid, find a student who will give you an answer yes to this question. So you will just walk around and ask, have you got a new bicycle? Oh no, but that's a pity. Are you tired now? Oh yes, why? And then you will have a short conversation with the person, also asking why they're tired, because you will be interested if they have this kind of a dull face or what. And once you get this answer yes, you put their name in that box. Once a line is complete, this way or vertically or diagonally, once a line is complete, the student shouts, bingo. The game is not over, though. It could continue up until, I would say, 3 to 4 winners. So, yeah, what's important is to make sure that the students are aware of the grammar items. So double check that they're sure how to ask those questions. So that they do not repeat a mistake multiple times. And as a teacher, it's important to mingle, walk around, and monitor if they're not repeating wrong sentences there. So before the start, it's easy to do it with one grammar item. So there's one pattern, one question pattern. If it's cross grammar like this, so it's important to revise several grammar patterns before you start, before you set it off. And once it's done, once the students sit down again, you can ask them what they've learned about some people around, what they know now. This is a so-called feedback stage, when you can find out more. And as a teacher, you could also ask extra questions. Always encourage any extra communication. So, and encourage interest in one another. Senior pupils demand other approaches. Well, it's not a particular approach, it's just an example of an activity. And of course, you look at your particular class and decide what suits and what doesn't. It's just one of the ways to start something off, to start a lesson off, to practice certain grammar items. I understand that there could be different preferences and different tastes. I use it quite a lot with adult groups because everybody, even an adult, is a little bit of a child inside, and everybody likes some fun, I'm sure. So, yeah, teenagers are not easy, that's true. But I've used it with teenagers as well, and it has been successful. It can be. It depends also on what you include, what sort of information you include in the boxes. For example, with my teenagers, it worked with emotions in a way. So I included the information that was related to their mood or emotions, and they were interested to find out why their classmates were feeling this or feeling that. Yeah, and so there could be some variations. And do you have any questions about how this is set up? If there are no questions, then how about the level of variations? Okay. See that it's quite clear. So, as for teens, so Olga, what about teens? Not sure what you mean. Oh, you agree with Victoria as for teens. Yeah, they could be quite tricky, you're right, but you could adapt. For tenses and models. Oh, good. Variations. If there are no questions from the sailors, then there should be some ideas as for variations. Questions, indeed, questions. And, you know, questions, where there are questions, there are answers. So it always, it's reciprocal. Right. Okay. If, as for variations, as I said, you could include grammar check, tenses, the right all ideas, markers, situations when we use them. Grammar check. So as I said, as for variations, you could use a single grammar pattern. That could be easier for lower level students. Or on the other hand, more advanced grammar, more advanced vocabulary for higher level students. It depends. Or pick a particular topic, say connected to mood and emotions, which could be relevant to certain ages. Well, in that case, let's move on. This game is best to be organized in groups of 5 because of the palm, like this, because of the 5 fingers. So if you have groups of 5, table with names of the tenses, task is to fill it, cases of usage. Well, Victoria, this is possible, but this is more of a theory rather than practical communication. Remember, here we are looking at real communication in real life situations. So we are asking people about something that's relevant to them, and we want to learn something about them and share something about us. So here the focus is not grammar as such, but what we can do with this grammar. Yeah. So if we return to the I've never, so we have groups of 5. If not, if there are more than 5 people in a group or fewer than 5 people in a group, it doesn't really make a big difference, but just 5 is the best number for this. So everybody starts with their palm open like this, and a teacher can start with a fact about her just to demonstrate how it works. For example, personally, I have never ever been to Egypt. If you have, please put a plus on the chat. Mm-hmm. No, yes, okay. So people have been, quite many. So if you've just put a plus on the chat, you would have to bend one finger, like this. If that's a minus, you still have your palm open. That's my popular fact, because it usually takes off half of the participants. Next student on the circle continues with a fact about them, what they have never done. It's very important to play this game honestly, of course, because if people lie about themselves, it doesn't make any sense. So you got to instruct your students to try and tell the truth. So then the second one speaks about something they have never done. If you have done this, you bend the second finger, and so on and so forth. The students make these sentences about themselves, about what they have never ever done. And once there's a student who has bent all his fingers or her fingers, they're out. They leave the game, they lose. So this game is for, what do you think? The winner will be the most experienced or the least experienced person. Mm-hmm. The winner will be the person with the least life experience, that's true. So those who have done many things, who have been to places, who have experienced a lot, will unfortunately lose very quickly. Now, what do you think? This activity, class or fishbowl, is more productive than grammar studying is for me. Okay. Oh, okay. Victor, surely this could be done. Yeah. Although, Victor, you're speaking about grammar translation method. I, of course, don't deny using translation in any methodology, but in communicative approach, we use it as a means of controlled practice. But today we're speaking about production and real communication. But yeah, you're surely right. Yes, so the winner will be the least experienced one. What do you think? This activity is real good to practice what? What is it so easy to practice using this idea? Yeah, present perfect here. Woohoo! Although, if past simple is possible too, if we choose a different context and choose a variation. So that's time for us to speak about the level and variations. What about variations? Oh, see, by the way, also this, you could do the me neither, I have, yeah, irregular verbs, you're absolutely right. So these kind of answers could be practiced there too, along with the present perfect. 6th, 7th graders for if structure. Conditionals, sure. I'm trying to imagine how to organize it with conditionals. Swap the places. Who has never? Because here with if structures or conditionals, just how do you kick out the student? How do you bend the fingers? If I had $1 million, I would do like you see, you need to find a way how to kick out, how to bend those fingers, because with I have never, it's very easy. There is either a yes or a no, and with conditionals there is an open number of options, so you got to find a way how to adapt it in a way that there are not so many, that you can either be in or out. They could agree or disagree. So I don't know, if you find a way to adapt it, Victoria, then it's pretty cool. Practice test forms for habits in the present simple and in the past. Yeah, you could adapt it to different tense forms, as long as you can find a way how to kick out, how to make this contrast. Didn't used to do, but now. Yeah, food works really good. If although with like it's really good to not limit to a specific vocabulary topic, because of experiences. There's a limited number of experiences, you know, there will be a limited number of foods that people haven't eaten or something. So, but still there could be some 5th to 7th graders. Yeah, quite agree. So if we move on, then that's the popular 20 questions game. Now, this I'm good at. Me too. Or yeah, I see there are some ideas how to adapt it to certain grammar forms. Okay. Now, 20 questions. This could be done in a number of ways. You could either use a peg like for laundry, to attach something to the student's bag. You could use sticker notes, but mind you that sticker notes fall off at some point, which could be a trouble. Could be a problem, sorry. So what happens? Students work in several groups again. Usually 4 or 5, it depends on a particular class. So each member of the group writes the name on a piece of paper of a real person, of a character, of a historical figure, of a cartoon character, of anything. As long as it's a name, like a name of a person, name of a character, doesn't matter. What happens next? If you choose to use pegs, then you attach this name. For example, on the slide I have this Einstein, Batman, and Mickey Mouse. So I attach this Mickey Mouse to my partner's back. So my partner now is represents the Mickey Mouse, and something is on my back as well. My task is to guess what it is on my back. Obviously, if it's on the back, then people will have to turn around all the time to show what's on their back. But soon everybody remembers. Sometimes my students agree to have a sticker note on their forehead on a good day. Then it's easier, but the sticker notes, they can come off, and it spoils the whole game. So what they need to do is they only ask yes and no questions to find out what is written on their forehead or on their back. They can ask, is it an animal? Can it do something? Whatever. Is it a real person? Is it a cartoon character? Did they live in history? Are they still living? And so on and so forth. There's a number of questions. Obviously, what you ask depends on the answers that you receive. So you ask, is it a real person? You receive an answer, no. And then on the next circle, you will ask, is it a cartoon character? And you get a no. And then another circle, you ask, I don't know, is it a film character? And then you get a yes. And then woohoo, finally, and then you go, is it a human character? Is it a person in the film? And then you get a yes, and so on, so on, so on. So the maximum number of questions is 20, they say. And this is done in circles. Obviously, if one person continuously asks questions, it gets boring to the rest. So you need to do it in a circle. They're not allowed to ask alternative questions. Am I this, or is it this or this? Only yes, no. It's important to encourage the others to give the short answers as well. For example, yes, he did, or no, it isn't, like the short answer, rather than just yes or no. At least some practice. Why not? And the students, it's a good idea to encourage them to also take some notes about the answers they receive, so they don't get to repeat the questions, because after a circle they tend to forget what they've already asked and confused about what they know, what they don't. Yeah. Any questions about how this is organized? Practice vocabulary in this way. Yeah. Vocabulary questions. Okay. Hope you like it. So if, yeah, jobs, good with jobs. I love it with jobs. You're absolutely right. That's an adaptation. That's my next question, how you could adapt it. What level is it good for each vocabulary topic? Yeah, you could put like anything. You could limit students to a topic, say animals or food, or any. I am an eggplant, or I'm a cucumber, whatever. And the questions could be, is it green, is it whatever, and sports, you're right. Okay. Any level, any topic. I'm pretty adaptable. I wouldn't be that open as for any level, any topic, but quite adaptable, you're right. Food, kinds of shop, you're right. Transport, furniture. All sorts of things. This one with characters sort of is more open-ended. There's a huge variety, huge choice, huge number of options. If you limit to a specific topic, it generally takes less time, and it's easier. The students tend to feel more confident about it. They're definitely limited to the topic of sports, and cartoons, characters, yeah. Or writers, yeah, you could. So, and the last one for today is called A Little Scar Story. This is actually speaking. Now, everybody has a little scar on their body. This may sound a little negative, but usually with children, it's associated with adventure. With adults, could be associated more with accidents, but still. Anyway, everybody has a little scar on their body. So what I ask my learners to do is remember where there's a little scar, and tell a story about how this scar appeared. For example, my little scar appeared because my cat was running straight ahead and didn't notice me coming out of the room next door and just crashed into me with, like in a cartoon, you know, like this Tom into a wall. And so now I have this little scar on my leg. But obviously, it's my short version. If I were telling the story, I would be more detailed. I would tell about the flat, how it's organized, and where the cat was running and where I was coming from, and so on and so forth. So it very much depends on your students' fluency. You could give certain questions here, like where did it happen? Who took part in the situation? Also, when did it happen? What were the circumstances? And so on. Yeah, it is pretty cool. Thank you. If your students are less confident, you could also put stem sentences, like it happened in then time, like year, I don't know, month or what. It happened when, it happened where, and so you could sort of create a plan for your students. So for them, to make it easier to follow for them. Or if you would like them to say at least, say, 5 sentences, you could limit them to this number of sentences, so they don't just say, oh, I fell down. This isn't really the kind of speaking I'm talking about. This really is about telling a story. And what's important is to give the listening students a task. Why do I listen to somebody else's story? So this task should sound like, listen for 3 interesting facts from your partner's story, for example. Or listen for the place, the time, and the participants. So the 3 interesting tasks will be like 3 interesting facts will be the more open kind of task. So anyway, the task, the listening task, yeah, the listening task is adaptable again, but it is very important to give it, because if there is no listening task, then the listeners will just they will be distracted. And the listening task is also good for the feedback stage. When everyone has shared their story, they could, or you could, as a teacher, you could later ask them, like, what interesting facts do you know now about your partner 3? Or, and so on. So there is something to build your feedback stage upon, like that. Any questions about it? Yeah, by what the scar can be, a bruise. A bruise. If a scar is too negative, no. Summer, winter holidays. But you know, the scar and bruise is kind of very specific, and it takes you back to a specific story. It's just a modern storytelling method. Yeah, one of them. It's like it's one of the ways to tell a very specific kind of story. Because if you ask them, oh, tell a story about, I don't know what, it's very open-ended. And in that case, when the task is very open-ended, it might be a bit harder to come up with a story. And this little mark on your body takes you back to a specific story. If you should organize it in a way that the students do not give a single phrase reply, like, oh, as I said, I fell down, I got it when I was skiing. No. In that case, provide stem sentences or questions that they have to answer. Okay. Any variations? We talked about a bruise, a level, a scary story. As I said, it could sound a little negative, but with kids, it's often associated with adventure rather than something terrible. Yeah, 9 to 11 graders. Okay, B2, yeah, B2. It does require some fluency already, some confidence here. It's more open-ended in any case. In the frames of noosh, you're absolutely right. Senior students, you're right. Well, that's pretty much all for us today. Thank you for joining, and thank you very much for your attention and your kind comments and active participation as well. That noosh. I'm happy to answer any questions, if at all. Okay, thank you. That's great to hear. I hope you try and use some of them. Okay. Thank you, guys. It was really good. Oh, Victoria, I like the smiles. Okay. Thank you, guys. Yeah, sure. Give it a try. We're done? Oh, it's still going on. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Дякую всім, до побачення. Було дуже приємно працювати з такою аудиторією.